Hello, everyone. My name is Derrean Tucker. Welcome to Civilized Eyes. We're gonna start with a introduction. Again, my name is Derrean Tucker. I am your host, Dushun.
My name is Dushun. I am your co-host.
Cabriel.
And my name is Cabriel Bruce, and I'm also a co-host of Civilized Eyes.
And on tonight's show, we have a guest, and we're gonna let him introduce himself along with his bio. And his name is Warren Crudup. Okay, I have some announcements before we get into that. The announcements is that for those that are blind, there are some apps and a lot of software out here that are available to the disabled blind to where they can uh, be flexible and still fill out applications online websites that certain services require. One is Adobe Adobe Reader DC, Adobe Acrobat Reader DC to be exact, where in which the PDF files that some of these organizations and agencies have on their website, you can download them and then open them up in PDF to where you can fill out your application. If you need any more information on that in depth, you can email us at civilizedeyespodcast@gmail.com. The next software that you could download, to scan, get, under, to read the text on any type product is Seeing AI. It read currency and things like that. For those that have the Apple phone, you can download that Seeing AI on your Apple store. All right. So Warren, we want to
Yes.
just thank you for coming on, man. We're glad to have you. We just want you to go ahead and introduce yourself to the people, along with a little, your bio.
All right. Thanks for having me. Again, my name is Warren Crudup, and I'm a blind individual. Was paralyzed at one time. Right now, I am a coach of business. Coach Warren is my name. I'm known by. My business is anicolifecoaching.com. I am a leader on the morning prayer line for over 5 years, the father of 2 children, former truck driver with many other skills behind my belt. I am a support counselor for the National Federation of the Blind. I answer the telephone peer support line for the technology support area of the NFB. Love that job. It's a great job doing it, and I just want to have several other things behind my belt. Just love life. Life is good, and again, thanks for having me on this show.
Yeah, man, we glad to have you. Thank you for taking out your time to come over here and uh, and put yourself in the spotlight, you know, so we can interview you. I noticed that you named a lot of things that you do. I just want to ask the question. It's really not pertaining to blindness. It's really everybody kind of deals with this. You know, this is like, but They could happen to anyone, sighted and unsighted. So you doing all those things. What do would that kind of bring some type of mental exhaustion? From having all those duties and on your schedule. How,
It
how would you how would you deal with that if it becomes overwhelming?
it does come overwhelming. It does come overwhelming. Wearing many hats, trying to be in many places at one time. The great thing about it nowadays, most of it is online over the telephone, so it keeps down the ripping and running up and down the highway as much. But you just take one day at a time, and you just keep in mind that you can only be in one place at one time, and you can really, truly only do one thing at one time. So just
Okay.
take.
Okay. I feel you on that. I try not to schedule my things too crowded within. I try to at least have one day a space between the things that I schedule to deal with. Like, 'cause I know I put myself in a bunch of overwhelming situations before. Um, my second question is going to be, uh, who mostly do you give service to in the Nico?
Nickel Life Coaching was formed to help individuals that are disabled, blind, visually impaired, however you want to identify yourself, but mainly have problems with eye issues or have been in a wheelchair or in and out of any type of nursing home facility or rehab. So it's kind of a broad area, but disabled or some kind of disability is the main factor.
All right, Cabriel, I'm gonna
So, as a coach to a individual who would just be coming visually impaired, what would the first thing you would say to that person as they get ready to transition into a different life?
I would ask them, what is their goal? I mean, it's a new day. Um, becoming blind or disabled in any kind of format, it can be tragic to the mind, and it normally stops the general flow of what you normally do every day. So today, where are you right now? What is your goal? That's the first question I would ask them.
So, when you became blind, did you find it hard to be motivated, or was it an easy transition for you yourself?
Well, my blindness came over a slow period of time. I had a disability prior to that.
Hmm.
So the blindness wasn't like, wow, the first thing that ever hit me that was hard.
So basically, you was kind of prepared in a sense, or preparing yourself.
As the blindness came on, yeah, I guess I was preparing myself, had already went through a traumatic a tragedy prior to that that led up to the blindness. Um, so when the blindness started coming on, it was like, one day at a time. But it was some dark days there. Believe me, there
Hmm.
was a lot of dark days where, wow, I just don't believe I'm in this. I'm blind.
So would you sometimes find yourself in a state of depression or shock or doubt?
I wouldn't really say depressed, aggravated, frustrated.
Okay.
Sometimes other people got me frustrated with their doubts about what a blind person could do.
Hmm.
But I try to stay away from that depressed stage. But I think everybody has some down days where they kind of unmotivated to do anything.
And so you say you answer the phone dealing with technology, correct?
Yes, for the National
So
Federation.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, for the National Federation of the Blind.
All right. So for a person who has found themselves in the life changing stage, technology wise, how would you advise them on taking that first step? So what would be a good resource technology wise for somebody to do?
I always say get an iPhone. Start with an iPhone. iPhone, iPhone, you so many things you could do with the iPhone. That's the first piece of equipment. That's the first thing that I think anybody blind needs to grab a hold of and learn.
I know that was the first thing when I figured out that the iPhone was just so accessible. It changed my whole aspect on how I view everything technology wise, because it's just like everything speeded up for me,
Right,
and,
right.
and it also opened up a lot of doors, and it just felt
Absolutely.
like I was a part of everything. I could text and do everything else, and like I didn't miss a beat. So uh, I co-signed that myself.
Absolutely.
Derrean.
Okay. Yeah. So that iPhone thing. Uh, I greatly recommend that too. I had an Android, and man, I tell you, man, that Android is acceleration, its speed slowed down so quick. You know, I didn't even have the phone for a whole year yet, and uh, I never heard any problem like that happen with the Apple product. Uh, and I think you along with Dushun uh, and Nada and other NLB members, recommended that Apple. I think a lot of people are like myself had experience with Android, and it's not fit. Uh, it has its accessibilities and things, but Apple is better, man. I'm sorry, Google. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Android. But I'm gonna let Dushun ask a question to Warren. Due to her technical, she's not gonna be able to hit a response, but she can ask a question. All right, go Dushun.
Oh, my question is, so Warren, I'm sorry, I wasn't able to hear you. So I'm not certain of the answer to the question. But what caused you like to want to do the technical support?
Did you hear that, Derry?
Okay.
The whole question.
Yeah, she said what caused you to want to be so to be a technical support, such of an outreach, and making yourself available in the technical support area.
Mm-hmm.
Probably because my love for technology. From about 8 years old, I found myself in love with technology. Taking apart my mother's brand new TV.
Yeah, usually where it
Trying
starts.
right. So I started out um, becoming blind using the Android my own self. Derry, believe it or not, I don't tell the story too much, but I didn't find myself getting nowhere with it. And once I put my hands on an Apple phone, it was all downhills, and I just said, "Hey, take my love for technology and help somebody else with it."
So, for a person who will have that choice, uh, we know about the phone, but computer wise, what would you recommend? Is it anything? Would you recommend the Apple versus the Windows or it JAWS? If you could kind of explain some of that to the people who may not.
Well, from my experience, again, I started out with the Windows 7,
Okay, me
uh,
too.
and I learned JAWS and I want to say Dotson, um, and one or two other software. I even learned the Windows 10 uh,
Right.
built-in screen reader, and they work. They'll get you through the job, but I'm all Mac. Mac will get you through the job much easier, in my opinion, and the help is there on the computer. You don't have to go away from the computer to get help. The help is built into it. So it just takes, those questions and say, when you're looking for them, it's right there. It's in front of you, so I'm all Apple all the way, hands down.
Yeah. So Mac, I think I'm going for that too. I got the Windows and I got a Google phone too. It's good that I went through it because I also had that experience. So if a blind individual or a senior with low vision comes to me, and they have this type of device, I can give them instructions on it.
Absolutely.
And so it's good. And also, Android has some things that Apple don't have though. You know what I'm saying? I noticed that. I hope my phone will say that. But I noticed that Siri is not intelligent all the time. But what device is though? You know what I'm saying? It's not all the way around intelligent. That's why they always want us to do reviews on it. And I think it's important that us as blind individuals and disabled that we should comment, because they ask you, they have like little comment boxes that say, how do you think we should improve our product? What should we consider? I think we should put down in there things that will make their software, their applications more accessible to us. Oh, Warren, what do you have to say about that? About communicating with these big giant surfaces that we use all the time.
Well, I find out a lot of the when we say it's not working. Let me start there first. When we say it's not working, it's normally us. It's how we say certain things, and if we speak clear, if we slow down when we speaking, it makes a big difference. Siri is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and everybody expected it to be 1, 2, 3. So we kind of talk like 1, 2, 3, but she's like more 1, 2, 3. If you get my drift. So, but I think Siri could compete with any big corporation company that is on the market. I just think that she's ready for it.
Yeah, I have also learned that Apple has put going forward, they have put a lot of investment into accessibility technology.
Right.
We all know that they could be considered the head of the game when it comes to accessibility technology. They have came a long way with it, and it's constantly improving, and
Right.
so. And if we have an opportunity to comment with the app developers, and also I have found that a lot of these apps now are becoming accessible because Apple is kind of pushing that for developers to make their apps more accessible because they recognize that we are users and we have buying power and user power, or and that we they're aware of us as individuals, I would say.
True. And 5G is going to be a major game changer too. So it's going to change the way that we use technology altogether, and especially in another year or two. So what we know now is it's going to be prepared to learn a lot more. Real quick.
Okay, Dushun, she wants to comment on the topic of the technology and everything that we was just talking about. Go ahead, Dushun.
Yeah, technology is developing and it's evolving each and every day. I remember about 10 years ago, we weren't as up to date as we, of course, not as up to date. But yeah, we technology wasn't as evolved as it is now. I'm sure even like a year ago, technology wasn't even as evolved. So technology is evolving every day, each day.
Right.
That's what I'm talking about with that 5G, and that's how it's going to change. 10 years. Yeah, wow.
Yeah, because I started out on iPhone 4. So
Wow.
such a 4, and I didn't know nothing about it, and somebody gave me one with a cracked screen to just practice on.
Oh wow.
And yeah, so and I would practice, and I would learn, and I had to have one at that point. Then it went to the 4 plus, and now we're up to what 13 coming out.
Right. Yeah, I started with the 5.
Yeah, and so you can imagine
Mm-hmm.
the leaps and bounds that the Apple products have made. And I have iPads, and with the Apple Watch. I don't have an Apple Watch because I felt that I was overwhelmed with the watch and the pad and the phone. It was kind of all the same. So
We got some different
yeah, it
stuff
got
to
different.
it.
But for what I did, for what I did, and so uh, now I'll be looking to invest into the Mac computer. I have just a regular JAWS, but I'm interested now to invest in the Mac and see how far that'll take me as a person.
You gonna get the Windows or the Mac or the laptop?
That was my next question gonna be what would you recommend for a first computerized user? Should I get the laptop or the computer or the Air MacBook, or what should a new beginner start out on? The laptop.
Well, the operation system is just like the iPhone
Okay.
per se.
Okay.
It's a system, it's what you
Right.
want to do with it.
Right.
If
Still the
you want
same
that,
always.
if you want to move around, if you want to stay stationary, or that's what you need to consider. But the operation system, you're going to get the same.
Yeah. So maybe I'm mobile, so the laptop will be um, successful for me.
Right.
Yeah. And I love the laptop. It's portable. The battery life on it is not as long as the desktop though. Well, the desktop don't even have a battery. It got to stay hooked up all the time.
All right.
Right.
But their battery life on their laptop is kind of short. I think mine is like 3 or 4 hours.
Right.
That's the only problem I really have out. And I got to make sure I either have hotspot or Wi-Fi. They don't have like a service plan for a laptop.
So you have the Apple laptop, or
Nah, I have
Windows?
I have a Lenovo Windows
Oh,
10
okay.
laptop,
Yeah. Yeah.
conventional
That's
keyboard.
Mm-hmm.
that's what I use. But I use a lot of with my phone and iPad. I use a lot of Bluetooth keyboards and um, things like that. So technology is going for it. So if you don't mind asking, Coach, so in some of the calls you get and take us through one of your call sessions on how
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
you help people with support. So like from a call on what you do for the NFB.
yeah, yeah. Tell us what do they call for?
Yeah, what
What?
kind of
Yeah.
I've got calls for a little bit of everything. The majority of my phone call starts out first with I have a friend or I have a relative.
mm-hmm.
It's never the person. Uh, for some reason, we become blind or disabled, and we sit back and we do nothing. And it's always the relative, it's always the friend
Yeah.
that reach out and say, "Hey, And I try to be supportive, but most of the time I have to say, "Hey, I need to speak to the one that needs the to see where they at. It's very hard to help somebody through somebody else until you ask those questions, because as we know, just here in this room, we all have a blindness problem, a vision problem, but we're all different.
Right.
Our skills, learning abilities are all different. So 90% of the time, I need to talk to that person. I have got calls where people just went blind and completely paranoid, don't know what to do, don't know where to go, think their life is over with. So most, all the calls are confidential, so I can't get into any particular
Right.
call. But
We understand.
yeah, but most of the time, like I say, it starts out with that. I have a friend, I have a relative that needs support, and the trick is to get that person on the phone and then go from there.
So are y'all services free, or is it a subscription base, or?
No, everything is free. The National Federation has a hotline, a 404-371-1000 number, and it has a couple different options if you want to learn what the philosophy of the National Federation is. If you need peer support, you in other kind of tragedy situations, suicidal. I've got a couple of those phone calls too. And then just people just calling just to find out, where to go for this and where to go for that. So we just try to be supportive any way that we can. And some of the calls have turned into friendships.
Hey, Warren, I've been part of your service, and you're coaching, life coaching me through some of the through some of the little narrow things that they got, out here for the blind, services they want us to go through in order to say that we are capable. Could you tell the people about like what I was going through and what you helped me out with, and a lot of the other people that you help, as far as with the vocation rehabilitation agencies?
Yeah, well, with you, I, the day I spoke to you, I saw that you was running around in a circle with the vocational rehab. Um, they are an organization, in my opinion, that needs to be shut down, and it needs to be reformed in a different way. But what I try to do is step in and say, hey, first of all, you have a handbook, read that handbook, understand your rights. They are there to help you. You are their boss in other ways. In so many words, you are their boss, so you have to direct them, tell them what you need, and direct them, and they are there to assist you. So that's the first thing I try to get people to understand their position, and get to understand why vocational rehab is there to begin. They don't exist without us. That's one department that don't exist without us that are blind, disabled. So change your attitudes towards them, and the help is there, but you have to apply yourself in a different way than expected in most cases. I don't know if I answered your question, Derrean, but
Yeah, you answered my question. Can you still hear me?
yes.
Okay. So I want to step in and then give some enough, uh, well, I do that at the end. Cabriel, I'm gonna let you have another question, to Warren, and I'm gonna just wait to do that announcement at the very end. Then Dushun, she wants to say something. And for the sake of those that's seeing my camera, y'all see me like my lips moving in the background, but you can't hear my voice. What I did was I muted and I was telling Dushun, because she's had technical difficulties, everything that uh, is being discussed on this broadcast. All right, go ahead, Cabra. Cabriel, are you still there? Hey, Warren.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm talking. Can excuse, I'm sorry, but you said a few moments ago about reformatting vocational rehab. How would you advise them from what you see on how they would need to go about starting to revamp their organization?
I would think that they need to be more exclusive with other disabilities to begin with. Um, I have not met too many blind people who is just blind
Okay.
or have became blind. They normally come blind or become blind with another type of disability. So when I talk to vocational rehab, um, their focus is one thing, but I have multiple things I need to focus on and they need to take into consideration. Uh, for instance, when I went there, I started losing my vision, but I was already dealt with being paralyzed. Uh, and I had after the fact um, conditions to deal with at the same time, and they didn't want to hear it. They didn't know what to do with it. So I just believe they need to be more exclusive with other type of disabilities to be more helpful to us.
I remember when I first encountered them 20 some years ago, they was still attached to the Department of Labor at that time. I don't know
Yeah.
if anybody remember that they was
Mhm.
in with the Department of Labor before they branched off and became separate entity.
Yeah. I
And
remember.
and they it was worse then because they would try to lump you in with the unemployment base. They didn't have many resources at that time, and they just think that, hey, our problem will just say find you some kind of answering the phone job and we will be happy. And we learned that that didn't work because at the time it wasn't many answer the phone jobs out there. Like, it's a lot of work from home stuff now, but at that 20 some years ago it wasn't. And you may have had one organization that would provide services like we have here um, in our city, a company by the name of New Ventures, and they would send you there. And New Ventures survived off of the difference that they had. They survived off of private industry versus a lot of CRPs, a lot of places that provide services for people with disabilities exclusively provided services from Vo Rehab. They gave them money to provide opportunities. So when the pandemic hit and the funding was slow, um, they would tell you, well, we don't have no opportunity. And so I think that the level of urgency from them when it comes to us is non-existent.
Well, you know when you hit one note there that when you said the funds are low, they've been screaming bloody murder that their funds have been low 20 years ago.
Right.
Like you said,
I,
when they was connected with the Department of Labor, and every year they send back big bucks back to the government or big dollars go back to other states because they did not use them here in this state.
right.
So their funds is not as low as they scream, So we need to stop taking that for
Mm.
excuse, that their funds are low, and the pandemic just gave them more ammunition to say, "Hey, we have more things that we could come up with excuses with."
Right, because if I'm mistaken, it could be a the federal line item when it comes to funding, or they wrote in to the federal budget. That's something I would need to look into.
I
Yeah.
haven't heard it.
No, I haven't. I mean, I wasn't gonna say anything on that, but I was gonna say that um, I'm involved in this. I think it's a government agency where they compete for they compete. You know, if I can, they get funding yearly, and they would it was said unto me that if like they can spend the less amount of money and get like a great amount of things done, and there's some funds left over, they get scores on that. You know, they get scored on that, and they get like a bonus to the next
Right.
year funding type thing. So it's like what a scoring. It's like what this is basketball,
Yeah, yeah.
football, or something like that.
Well, that's
Where
the
you
key to
get
get as many people in their Roscoe, and the more people in their Roscoe, the more funds they get, and the less they spend, the bigger their bonus. You hit it right on the head.
Well, and I think now that um, we, as a group now, can collectively speak out and accomplish more than it was 20 years ago. When I was out, I didn't have um, no support because it was whatever back then. It felt like they had the power. Because I had nobody to turn to, or nobody with other experiences, or nobody who can go with me. Now it seems like that if somebody comes along and need help, that the opportunity is there for like with coaching and more experience to know how to present ourselves. Because it's all they always have a stopping point where if you ain't got this, or you didn't do this right, or you didn't do that right, or come back when you get this, or come back when you get that. So I feel now it's enough experience out there than it was when I first became eligible to know what to do when I first go there, versus just fishing and just being able to take whatever they tell me because I didn't know what to expect.
Well, there's people every day just taking what they tell them, um, because they don't know. We don't know when we first become blind, and we expect them. When we look up to them, we look up to them as leaders,
Mm-hmm.
as our helper, as our savior,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't know. And they right in front of you hand you a book and say, "Here, read this." But they don't say, "Here, read this." They just hand it to you and say, "We gave you some papers. You look over on them." But that book is your Bible in so many words. But again, the majority of us are blind or have a vision problem, and we can't
Mm-hmm.
read that book.
Right.
So that's their upper hand right there.
That's why when I started my job this time, and when they were like, "Here go our handbook," I said, "No, email it to me. Send it to me in a digital form, so I can know everything, so I won't make that mistake." And and the first thing they're gonna ask you, "Did you read the book?"
Right.
That's and they're gonna say, "Did you read the handbook?" And I'm like, "No, I didn't read the handbook. I didn't know I couldn't stay out these many days." But it's in the book, and then they're gonna open the book and put their finger on it in
Right.
the book. And if we don't read that book, read that handbook, like you said, we don't know what we can and cannot, and whatever opportunities we may have, or what the expectations are, because it could be written right there.
Yeah, it's an instruction book, like any products that we get, uh, new item, toy, whatever, it all has instructions. And without reading that instruction, you will always miss something.
okay. we're drawing to an end. Um, I'm going to uh, I'm going to give like them announcements that I was. Oh, someone's going to say something.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm going to give those announcements that I was going to give in the middle of the broadcast. Uh, we have an email address that everyone can send emails to if they have any questions or comments about the podcast, like feedback, things that we can do more better to give a better quality onto our podcast. Also, like if you're watching this recording and you didn't really catch it live, you can catch it live by going to my the YouTube channel, Derrean Tucker. I'm thinking about changing their name in the future soon to Civilized Eyes, so it can be easier to find. Um, and then when you find it, like when you begin to watch us live, you can just comment live, and I can read everything from the audience, and put it into the live broadcast. We also have a Cash App, $ Civilized Eyes Podcast. The C in civilized is capitalized on that. So there's $Civilized Eyes Podcast for anyone that want to like give some support, so we can expand ourselves to advance the eyes of the general and specific public about blindness and or blindness related subjects, but not limited to these items. Um, Again, there's $ Civilized Eyes Podcast. And I'm gonna let Dushun. Okay, go ahead, Dushun.
Can you please spell Civilized Eyes?
Oh, Civilized Eyes is spelled CIVILIZEDEYESPODCAST. All right, Dushun, you can give your last words.
So yes, I would just us, the co-host of Civilized Eyes, we would just like to thank Mr. Warren Crudup for joining us this evening. And we wish Mr. Warren Crudup, the best on his future endeavors. And that's just about it.
Cabriel?
Oh, and also next Sunday we'll be having another guest as our podcast Civilized Eyes.
Cabriel?
We also like to thank you, Coach Warren, for joining us tonight, and we wish you much success in your endeavors. And I look forward to speaking with you again and getting some of your services.
Thank you.
Yeah, and also I give my thanks and appreciation for you coming onto the podcast voluntarily. Uh, we had a little technical difficulties at the beginning, but you stuck in there with us. We appreciate you there, man. And we'll have you back on in about maybe 2 weeks or 3 weeks in the future. Do a follow up with you.
Yeah,
and
great conversation.
We're seeking to expand to start giving services, but we all know out there in the world that it takes financials to do these things. It's not there's a system out here, and in order for us to get services, we must have finances. That's why we ask for anything, any contribution that you're willing to give, so we can expand to that level. But the reason I say that, Warren, we know you have a business in Nico life coaching, and once we become a registered organization, it'd be good that we can have you come in and do your life coaching, if that would be something that you're interested in. And I'm going to let you give your last remarks on Civilized Eyes Podcast.
Well, first I'd like to start out saying thank y'all again for inviting me. It's been my pleasure coming on with all, speaking with all y'all, and getting to know each and every one of y'all better. Anybody can find me at Nickel, which is spelled INIKO, lifecoaching.com. That's my website. You can email me at Coach Warren at Nickel, INIKO, lifecoaching.com. You can find me there, or simply at WL Crudup, which is CRUDUP, the number 2 at gmail.com. You can find me anyway. Again, I'm Coach Warren. My website has all my information, the different services that I provide on there. I have a PayPal button there too, because like Derrean and them say, we spend many hours helping people at no charge. The main thing is to get somebody started, get them out of trauma. So if you want to hit that button there on my PayPal account, donate, or you can pay for services through that website as well as my Cash App. I'll be greatly appreciated of any donations there. But mainly, call me. Don't sit at home. Don't be blind. Don't have other people call for you. Pick up that phone, 404-565-0149. Let's talk. Let's chat. Let's see what's going on with you. Life does.
All right. Thank you all. God bless.
And you should end it there.